you cannot stop somebody from suing you.
Yeah.
But the question is, does the person have a case against you?
I'm going back to where I belong. You're the reason why I'm singing this song. Boy, I did you no wrong, but you broke my heart. I'm going back.
Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. I'm Yaba and we are Ghana bound. Today I'm with Emmanuel and I'm going to get him to introduce himself and his company.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel Matekole, and I'm the managing partner of Emmanuel Law Consults, a boutique law firm in Accra, Jowolo, Accra. I specialize in real estate and infrastructure law. So then the next part is what I call the preparation of the legal documents.
Okay.
Because in Ghana, it's only a lawyer that can prepare conveyance. So a lot of people, I mean, surveyors and stuff, I've seen comments, from some surveyors whenever I say this, that, oh, this is not true. But look, it's in the law, black and white. And I'm also a litigation lawyer. I go to court. And people can raise this in court, that this document was not prepared by a lawyer. And because of that, it is void. And the judges agree. So you can do everything properly. But the fact that the document itself
hasn't
been done by a lawyer makes the transaction void. So in order for you to be able to determine whether a lawyer has prepared a document or not, the lawyer's name and address ought to be endorsed on the document.
Okay.
And the law is that if at the time the lawyer prepared the document, the lawyer was suspended, then it means that that document is also void. You get me? So even being a lawyer in itself does not qualify you to prepare that document. You ought to be a lawyer in good standing before you can prepare that document. Is that serious?
Very serious.
It's serious. And the conveyance, for instance, so before you do a deed, like a transfer document, sometimes the parties enter into a contract of sale or a sale and purchase agreement, a document which allows them to pay in installments or something until they actually get the actual deed. And the way that document is supposed to be prepared is in the law. A contract of sale, for instance, ought to be signed by somebody who is authorized. It ought to be signed by the vendor if it is going to be proven against the vendor. Ought to be signed by the purchaser if it's going to be proven against the purchaser. Yeah. If they do not sign, you cannot prove that document against them. Okay. That is the law.
So make sure you get it signed.
Exactly. And if the purchaser is not the one signing, but the purchaser is authorizing someone to sign, then that authorization must be in writing.
That brings me to another point, which is it's still in standing with what you're saying. And because a lot of people are coming from outside to do this process, not everyone is in Ghana for this.
So you ought to give somebody a power of attorney to sign on your behalf.
Okay.
And in addition, so the power of attorney suffices, it's good. And if you want to really do things properly, that power of attorney ought to be registered, because the power of attorney is a right. Registrable rights under the law, so it ought to be registered. So anybody who does a search knows that this person has a power of attorney to sign on behalf of the purchaser. So I mean, that's essentially it. For me, the thing is, in court, if you go to court, it doesn't mean that if you win a case in court, it doesn't mean that you did the right thing throughout, or that you were perfect. It only means that when they compare one party to the other party, they realize that one party, based on the evidence, complied with the law more than the other party. So sometimes you don't have to comply with the law 100%, but it depends on who you are going against. Because if you are going against somebody who has done a lot more than you, then you know that your chances are that you not do too well. Yeah. So even before you go to court, sometimes you have to do your due diligence and ensure that all the things have been done properly before you present this thing in court, because it could go against you. So I mean, essentially the law, and a lot of lawyers will agree with me, doesn't look at whether you've been moral, you were right or wrong in moral terms. It doesn't look at your ethics. It doesn't look at how you came by the thing. It looks at the law. Did you comply with the law?
Wow.
So an unscrupulous person could comply with the law. Yes.
And they will win.
And they will win.
Yeah.
That is why it's important for everybody to comply with the law.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, I mean, and that's some people, when they lose cases, they say the judge is corrupt and all that stuff. I mean, I've done many cases, and I'm yet to understand that thing. The law is so predictable.
Yeah.
And if you follow the law, it's difficult. It's like you tie the hands of the judge. If both parties do not follow the law, then you give the judge a discretion to choose who he wants,
right.
because somebody must win.
Yeah.
The judge cannot say it's a draw. No, somebody must win. Yes. So you give the judge a discretion.
Yeah.
But when you have gone over and beyond the requirements placed on you, and you have done the right thing, it's very difficult for the judge to turn a blind eye. Because if the judge does and you go on appeal, the appeal judges will mess that judge up. I mean, after anybody reads that judgment, whoever wrote that judgment will regret it.
Okay.
You know, like that judgment which will be per incuriam because it's against the law, will regret it. But where you leave room for a judge to use his discretion, the judge can go either way.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That's why with Ghana Bank, we're doing this today, because we want everyone who comes through us, whether it's a developer, seller, or a buyer, to not end up in court. If you do, for whatever reason, that you are in the right, and you're not the one who's been doing or not following the laws. It's really important to us to avoid that.
Yeah, and I get a lot of clients, from the diaspora, and I mean diasporans, and they tell me that, I mean, let me just give you an example. So a client came through me, and I did the due diligence and everything, and they were sued. And I mean, they sued the developer. The developer came to me, I was like, oh man, these guys, yes, you cannot stop somebody from suing you.
Yeah.
But the question is, does the person have a case against you? So I just called my clients and I'm like, look, in Ghana, you can't stop anybody from suing you, but you can have the case thrown out if the person doesn't have a case. So I'm telling you this, before the legal vacation, which ended in July, and the case was commenced in April, I'm like, this case will be dismissed. Okay. The first thing we did was we just joined the parties to the suit, and then we challenged the capacity of the person, because the person you are suing they've registered their title, they got everything, and then they try to place an injunction on the land, because they filed a motion for an injunction. And when you do that, you have to attach all your documents. So I had all their evidence before me, and I scrutinized and realized that even their documents were not prepared properly. I'm like, oh man, you don't have a case, like you are. And the thing went before the judge, and the judge just dismissed their case. And that was it. End of story.
Amazing.
So the thing is predictable. It's predictable, and you cannot stop a person from suing you. But if the person doesn't have a case, I mean, the case can be thrown out.
Exactly. What are they going to do?
Exactly.
So that brings me to, we got to the point of the SPA.
Yes.
So assuming that's been signed, both parties have signed it. Yes. What happens next? At what point does money...
So after the money starts changing hands at the SPA stage. So the SPA is like a document which ensures that you've secured the land for yourself, that the vendor cannot go and sell to somebody else. So under the SPA, you pay like a deposit.
Okay.
Some people pay 5%. I recommend that you pay an amount which you can walk away from.
Okay.
You're comfortable walking away from this sum. But, you pay a certain percentage under the SPA, and then you do your due diligence, because the SPA affords you the opportunity to do your due diligence, and then when you are satisfied, you pay everything. So the SPA could give you like maybe 3 months to finish paying, or a certain period of time, and then those payments are made under the SPA. So when the final payment is made, then now the deed of conveyance is done, or the indenture. And that means that the documents effectively now transfers the property from the vendor to the purchaser, and then the purchaser ought to now have the document stamped and registered. And then that's it.
Finished. It belongs to
Finished.
them.
So now let's talk about if there's a development or a dwelling house, then what I would recommend is after the registration has been done, if you buy a property like this, I'd recommend that you go for you ask for a certificate of completion cohabitation. So this is the certificate that is issued by the district assembly, and it just shows that the property has been completed, it has been inspected by the relevant authority, and it is now habitable.
Okay.
Now, the reason why this is important is that, assuming something should happen, because there's something called occupiers liability in law, where if you are an occupier of premises or you own premises, and maybe, for instance, somebody enters your premises and then maybe a chunk of the roof falls on the person, you are liable.
Okay.
Yes, you are liable, because clearly you ought to have gone through certain checks to ensure that there's structural integrity and all of that.
Right.
So if the authority does the checks and they realize that the building materials were defective or something, then you are liable. You know? So this document sort of like pushes that liability on the authority, because the authority has done its checks and they have given you a certificate to show that everything is good.
It's okay.
So that liability is no longer your liability, you know. And so that is your protection there. Then also, if if the property is being constructed, so it means that it's not completed, but it's in the process of construction, and maybe you are the one going to complete it, you ought to take the building permit from the developer.
Okay.
Yeah, because the building permit has a lifespan, I think 5 years. So within the 5 years, the building ought to be completed. If it's not completed within the 5-year period, then you have to go for an extension.
Okay.
You know, so you ought to take the building permit, so that if anybody comes to ask, you show them the building permit,
and then you can carry on.
Exactly, you can carry on. Yeah. So
when you go for renewal, yours will be 5 years too.
Yes,
Okay.
I mean it's renewable for another 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't have the money to complete it, you just go for the renewal, pay a fee, is renewed, and then you carry on.
Okay.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's about it.
That is super helpful, and I think there are actually bits that I didn't even know about in there. So I'm really grateful to you for that information. And if you have more questions about that, which I know you guys will, then please write them in the comments below. And you can also reach out to us on our website, and we can link you to Emmanuel's company as well. Okay, so Emmanuel, thank you so much again. It's been a world of information. And if you haven't already, please subscribe in 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the family, and see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.